listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
You guys, a pretty big milestone in my home decor living situation.
You put in the lanai.
we actually did get our patio power washed last week as part of a building overhaul. And while we were sort of like had everything in the middle of the patio, we decided, okay, this is going to be our time. We're going to move the stand-up freezer that's been in our dining room for over a year right next to where I work and have worked for the last 2.5 years. We're going to move it out into the patio. So it's like a defrost situation. It's getting everything out of the freezer. It's then moving the freezer and lifting it.
That must have been very heavy. Jeez.
You know, it's actually not that heavy. It's a stand-up and it's a tall freezer. It's like about 5 feet 3 inches tall, roughly or so. But it's not actually that heavy. However, I do have a shoulder injury and I pulled the muscle in my tricep or tore it or something. Anyway, whatever. I wasn't as useful as I normally am. Normally, I really pride myself in having a lot of like, I don't know if you remember the show Happy Endings, but they're talking about like one of the characters had like muscle boobs, and that used to be me. I used to have like a really strong upper body. Not as much anymore, unfortunately. Anyway, Carlos really had to put in the work with his knees. We got the freezer outside. We got it set up, plugged in. It works. And we have not yet received a notice from anyone in our building that it is illegal to have a freezer on our patio. So fingers crossed. I am so excited. And I don't know if listeners, but AG for sure will notice that there is not a steady hum in the background of this recording anymore.
There we go.
Because there has been a steady freezer
was
hum
different
in the background for the last year.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. When this freezer, it was part of your life, but you didn't want it to be. But did you put magnets on it?
It's not a freezer, as far as I know, that you can put magnets on.
What kind of a freezer you can't put magnets on?
It seems to have like a plastic door shelf
thing.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not that I don't want it to be part of my life. To be fair, I don't cook, so I don't have as much use out of it. But I do consume quite a lot of ice. And that is where we make all our ice. So it is important to me in that regard. The problem with why it ended up in our dining room is because of a mismeasurement of our new washer dryer that we had to get replaced last year, where the washer dryer, the depth was not taken into account. And so we ended up with a much larger washer and dryer, and we could no longer open the doors of that and still have a freezer in our laundry room. So that's how that all happened. I still want the freezer. I don't need it as much as, say, maybe I just need an ice machine. But again, I'm not the cook. There's a lot of stuff in our freezer.
Follow-up question.
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
First of all, thank you for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Where do you keep your office popsicles now?
So my office popsicles are still in the freezer, but they are on the patio. So
But you've got to go out there to get them?
Yeah, luckily I always wear sort of like a slight indoor-outdoor shoe in my home that can go onto the patio, and so I'm always in like
thought you were going to say, luckily I wear a freezer bra and I keep my popsicles in them at the ready.
I love that idea, the freezer pants. Bra. That's amazing.
I don't always wear pants. We all know that. Freezer bra also do not always wear, but I am frequently, like I don't really... Whereas I used to be sort of like almost always like happily naked at home, because grandma's with us half the week, kind of out of that habit now. So I usually have like just a long like t-shirt dress or something on to cover the nits and the bits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't seen you in 2 years, except for quickly once on my patio at a Christmas, I think 2 years ago. So I'm actually not convinced you have a lower body.
I mean, honestly, what an incredible trick it would be if I was finally just human torso and a head. Like but the thing is, I am very attached to my like erogenous zones in my lower half. So I would miss that. Also, you absolutely know I do have a lower half because basically I've talked about so many things regarding my uterus and my labia over the last 2 years. So
yeah, we've had an awful lot of information. That's true.
I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
Oh, do I go now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I was like, oh, am I here yet? And I'm Morgan Brayton.
Yay! Morgan Brayton.
Sorry,
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
You're listening to Pop This, and you may have also just realized, hey, I know that voice, Morgan Brayton. That is the voice of Pop This. And you're right! Yay!
Oh, yay! It's your voice.
So happy to have you back. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
So
having
lovely
me.
and professional.
That's me.
Professional
man.
with voice and audio equipment.
Oh, absolutely. It's a thing to behold when
It
I
is. Thank you. Well,
do whatever I
We
do.
do use you as a consultant, so I guess that's important for our audience to know as well.
Comedy, voice, and audio professional. Morgan Brayton. We're delighted to have you. Thank you so much. We're so excited also because I love the continuity of having someone talk about season 1 of a show with us and then to be able to come back and celebrate season 2 of a show. We're talking about Hacks season 2 today.
Yay!
I'm trying not to squeal.
That wasn't as tentative as I wanted that to sound. I actually was very excited to do it and watch it and everything.
Honestly,
so.
I really appreciate that the faces all of you were making were so excited, and then you just like gave the sort of real delay on the yay.
Yeah,
we're trying to play it cool, but
you know what? It's my
work.
fault. It's because I didn't set you up enough for like this is the point where you say yay. It's my fault.
we could try it again.
We should get one of those like neon signs that's
Applause.
Like, applause.
Yay!
Or just yay.
Yay! Yeah, no, we are excited. I'm sorry if my voice did not project my enthusiasm because I am excited.
I honestly, I'm gonna say that I think on a lot of levels, season 2 exceeds season 1 of Hacks.
I totally agree with you. I love season 1, but season 2 for me was just like over the top. So good.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, let us first introduce our special guest, Morgan Brayton. I'm going to read this bio, Morgan. We've already spoiled like the big thing, which is that like obviously the most important credit is that you're the voice of Pop This. But anyway, here's all the other stuff. Morgan Brayton is the host of Out TV's Morgan Brayton and Other People and a member of the live comedy thing, The Lady Show. As a film and television actor, she's appeared in iZombie, A Series of Unfortunate Events, Some Assembly Required, Hardcore Logo, Psych, The L Word, Scooby-Doo 2, and many more. She's the creator and performer of the solo shows Girls Like Me, Racoonery, and Give It Up. You can catch her on CBC's The Debaters, arguing any number of very important things, or on Knowledge Network, reminding you to support BC's public television broadcaster. She is very fond of cats and likes chips more than is probably normal. I don't know, man. I love chips. I think it's
chips
totally cool.
too. Oh my
So
gosh.
good.
Everyone
Chips?
loves
Are you
chips.
kidding? What's your
My
favorite
friend-
chip? What's your favorite chip?
That's like asking to pick a favorite child. I can't.
Oh, sorry.
My friend and past Pop This guest, Rose Melberg, gave me a chip scarf for my birthday recently that has various different types of chips on it. And Belay Nickerson gave me a chip bowl that is like the pattern. It looks like chips. It's like
Oh my
looks like a bowl
God.
made
Wow.
of chips that you put
That's
chips
great.
into.
Wow.
It's just, I really
People
love
know
chips.
about this chips. People, you are not.
I don't
Have you
No, I don't hide it.
Have you are you aware of Lisa's tip of putting uneaten chips in the freezer to keep them?
Yeah, I don't understand
Fresh?
the uneaten chips part though. That I didn't get past that.
It depends on the size of the bag you buy.
Does it?
That's fair.
I mean, that's like people who are like, oh, chip bag clips. Why? Why?
How do you
See
feel
them.
about the show about the 2 California police officers that work together?
I loved da 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 da. Are we going to be sued now? I don't think so. I loved John, and my mom loved Ponch, and that was always the way. She always liked the dark-haired, and I always liked the blondes. And we used to play chips in my neighborhood. You know, I don't know if kids still do that. If you play TV shows, like we played Charlie's Angels, or we would, run around the neighborhood flipping our hair and shooting at each other and going undercover. And we played chips, where we put the baseball card on your spokes on the back so that it makes that motorcycle sound.
Yeah.
And we would just playing chips. In hindsight, mostly just was riding around the neighborhood yelling the theme song at the top of my lungs. So
You weren't actually arresting people or catching criminals.
we'd sometimes the other kids didn't want to play with us when we were playing chips. So yeah, there was not a lot of arrests going on, but a lot of da 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 da.
Amazing.
You are
Amazing.
full chips.
I know. I'm telling you.
Full
Yeah,
chips.
no kidding.
Yeah, incredible. AG, would you like to read the background?
Sure. Hacks is an American comedy drama streaming television series created by Lucia Aniello, Paul W. Downs, and Jen Statsky that premiered on May 13th, 2021 on HBO Max, starring Gene Smart, Hannah Einbinder, and Carl Clemens Hopkins. The series centers on the professional relationship between a young comedy writer and a legendary stand-up comedian. The series received critical acclaim and won accolades including Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Writing, Outstanding Directing, and for Smart Outstanding Lead Actress, as well as the Golden Globe Award for Best Television Series, Musical or Comedy. In June 2021, the series was renewed for a second season, which premiered on May 12th, 2022. And in June 2022, the series was renewed for a third season.
Yay!
Third season, wild. Lisa, how about synopsis?
Sure. All right. Having lost her casino residency, Deborah is eager to hit the road immediately to try out the new, more confessional material she and Ava have worked on together. So after a quick pit stop in Vegas, which allows Gene Smart to deliver a classic sports movie speech at an MMA fight featuring the new husband of her daughter, DJ, played by Caitlin Olsen, Deborah and Ava begin traveling the country together, first in Deborah's car and then on her tricked-out tour bus. There is no getting away for Ava or for Deborah, and the close quarters force them to keep working through their issues. That comes from Alan Sepinwall from Rolling Stone.
Thank you so much. So, Morgan, you're a guest. Let's you go first. Did season 2 live up to your expectations?
Yeah, the first time I watched it, I wasn't sure. Oh my God. I've watched season 1 like 4 times. And I've
Really?
watched the pilot so many times. I watched the pilot to compare it to the pilot script. Like, I'm obsessed with this show. I love this show so much. The first time I watched season 2, I feel like, when you're so excited for something, like how you don't remember the first half of Christmas Day because you're just too beside yourself. That's what I feel like. I'm like, I watched it and I was like, wait, what happened? I gotta go back and watch again. So yeah, I feel like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, I'm not sure it was as good, even though I was losing my mind through the every single episode. But then when I went back and sort of calmed down and watched it again and just sort of sunk into it like a bubble bath, I fell in love all over again. And I think that's kind of like what happened with season 2 itself, right? Like season 1, it came out so gangbusters, but season 2, it feels like, yeah, we got this. We know what we're doing now. You know what I mean? Not that season 1 felt uncertain in any way, but season 2, it just feels like everybody has just kind of settled into everything a little bit more and they know their characters. They're playing. It feels like there's a little bit more playfulness. I'm very curious about some of the moments, if they were improvised or not, because there's definitely some things that I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that actor just threw that in there. That I love. So I feel like it just kind of, I don't even want to say it's found its groove, because it found its groove in the pilot episode of season 1. But yeah, I feel like it's just kind of it feels slightly different in a comfortable kind of a way. I think my favorite thing. Oh, how can I pick? How can I pick? I think my favorite thing about it is you do not get to see mature women like you do with the Deborah Vance character. I have not seen a character like this that is so complex and so, I feel like, accurate. I relate to her in so many ways. And I relate to Ava in so many ways. All of the characters. Okay, I feel like I just need to calm down a second. All right, so
Tell us what you really think.
I know. Have I told you how I feel about chips? Yeah, I just don't think we get to see women characters, specifically mature women characters, that are written as well, portrayed as well, and that are this satisfying. I don't want to give away, but episode 6, I was just like, yeah, get it, girl. Like I'm blown away by Jean Smart in this season, especially. And I'm just so grateful, because I've been thinking about, I just turned 52 2 weeks ago.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, happy belated.
Thank you. And so, I mean, obviously I'm thinking about aging a lot. I'm, work in an industry that is very much about being younger. And I'm trying to, kickstart my career in a different way, to do something different that I haven't done before. You know what I mean? So I think I'm feeling a lot of affinity. And so, it really speaks to me. And all the ideas of, did I make the right choices? Did I do the wrong thing? Have I wasted my time? All of those things that Deborah is sort of, wrestling with, while she is taking great joy in torturing Ava, is so amazing, so wonderful to see. And I find it so satisfying.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, snaps to all that. I think and the multiple entry points that the show offers everyone by having Ava and Deborah be this, like, there's this Venn diagram where they overlap, and the show addresses it really beautifully and talks about it a lot. There's also these obvious big valleys where they're very different from each other, and it's particularly satisfying to watch them both slightly sort of shift a little bit towards each other, just a little bit, in terms of sort of like listening a little bit more, hearing each other a little bit more, and coming to sort of mutual places of understanding, but and watching them work together. That was one of the things I loved most about this season, was just like watching the collaboration between them really sort of blossom and grow. Yeah. Anyway,
don't you love watching them work out the punchlines and work out the jokes? It's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
I want to also say that one of the things you brought up about not seeing an older female character, I was at work and someone was asking what I was watching, and I said Hacks, and I was saying how much I loved it, and they said, yeah, but they said the Deborah Vance character is kind of a bit cruel, and I went, oh, they never said that about Tony Soprano. They never said that about Don Draper. They never said that about Walter White. I mean, Tony Soprano literally killed people, and you say that to them, and they go, yeah, but did you see him with the ducks?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is insane, the expectation that this woman is supposed to have some edge of kindness, or I should be able to empathize with her more. So that's one thing I needed to get off my chest. And boy, did he hear something, and he was very nodding. He was, but anyway, the other thing that I thought I really enjoyed too, I haven't seen a show where the dynamic of the fact that the younger person doesn't have the advantage. We're watching her stare into her possible future going, oh my God, I do not know if I really want this. Where we see Deborah like, phew, I'm through that. I'm done. Sure, I've got a few regrets and things, but at the most part, it worked out. I'm here. And Ava doesn't know where she's going to go from here. She doesn't know if it's going to work. And so I've never seen a show shift the dynamics in such a successful way that is very satisfying to not always give the edge to the younger person that, they're cooler, they're smarter, there's some obviously funny scenes where they, she'll grab a phone and fix it and those sorts of things. But on the overall, they don't play up that particular age dynamic in the traditional way.
Well, and they go back and forth, right?
Yes.
One of them is just being awful, and then the other one is being punished, and then it flips again. You know what I mean? And they keep going back and forth. And I feel like this season in particular, just when I start to go, oh no, you start to cringe, and then I realized the writers were ahead of me. Do you know what I mean? Like they're on the what's it called? The Lavender something. I wrote it down. I was going to call the Lavender Menace, but that's not it. But it's a similar. The cruise, Lavender Travel. That's like the Olivia cruise, the lesbian cruise. So when she starts singing on the Olivia cruise,
yes,
that particular song, which I'm not sure how much we're revealing and how much we're not, so I won't say what it is just yet, but somebody else can jump in if they need to. I was like, oh no. And then a couple minutes later, they're like, yeah, no, of course we know. Of course we know that's to completely cringe, and this is why, right? Like the writers are able to take us through, these phases of, usually, you go, oh, I think I know where this is going, right? And we're very rarely surprised in television anymore, but I feel like they have us. They have us in the palm of their hand. We're safe, and they are way ahead of us, right? Because every time I think, oh man, really? Somebody didn't catch that that's not oh no, they got that. That was the joke. That was the point. That was the point. Got it.
Yes,
okay.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's so smart. So the politics are being explored, the identity politics and stuff like that. The, sexism within the queer industry, and that she loves her gay men, but it's like, ugh, I gotta be on a boat with a bunch of lesbians. Ugh. That is a thing. That is a thing that happens in our community. It's like, oh yay, gay men, drag queens, woohoo, lesbians, ooh. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. AG, what are your thoughts on the new season?
Well, I was a huge fan of season 1. I just loved it. And then I was so excited about this season, and it just totally exceeded my expectations. I think the first season was excellent, and this season is genius. It's
wow. Okay.
It's so good. And I like what Lisa was saying. It's that there's two female characters that are allowed to be unlikable on television. Yeah. And you don't really get to see that very often. And I think they kind of encapsulate it. There's a line of dialogue at some point where Deborah says, you're as selfish and cruel as I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of their bond.
Yeah.
A little bit, and that's their commonality. And you don't often get to see female characters enjoying that kind of vibe on television. So yeah, I just loved it. And then I loved the fact that they're on the road and they're on all these different venues, and it changes up every episode. I loved all the cameos, the surprise cameos we get this season with Laurie Metcalf and Margaret Cho, and Ming Na Wen is amazing as the manager.
Yes, so great. So scary.
Yeah, it's just but also feels so very LA, very accurate to someone who's a real manager in LA. But yeah, I felt like every episode has these sort of kind of genius twists and turns and surprises. And yeah, it just, I loved every second of it.
I think my favorite, I was just gonna say, I think my favorite episode maybe is the one where Deborah confronts her old competition
at the state fair.
Yeah. Played with absolute genius by the woman who played BB on Frasier. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I did not catch that. Nice.
She's so great. She's so wonderful. I know I should know her name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But just watching them immediately sort of come back to be in conflict with each other. Even through something as simple as like just like that water gun game where she like Deborah has to beat the grandchildren of this woman. Anyway, but like then we get to this wonderful point where they have their confrontation and it doesn't go the way either of them expect it to. And then in parallel to that, we have Marcus and Ava like finally really developing a bond. And it's so beautiful the way that they sort of they're not necessarily set up to be sort of like mirroring each other, but it's just two relationships developing and maybe undeveloping at the same time. You know, as one is sort of tightening up, one is unraveling for good. And I just love that. I love the duality in that and the sort of like the handshake between them.
Yeah, agreed. And I love their caricature with the big ring.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And that she kept her hands in her pockets so that they didn't draw her giant hands.
So giant funny. Hands. Oh my God. So I love that as a running gag. Oh my God.
Totally. Even as all of the characters, you know, Kayla and Jimmy are connecting and Ava and Marcus are connecting and Ava and, you know, like everybody is kind of getting a little bit more connected and real with each other. But this season is like a plane that's crashing and you can't stop it. You know what I mean? It just keeps getting worse and worse. And every time anyone tries to fix it, it's that beautiful comedy trope of, you know, anytime somebody tries to fix it, they make it worse. And you're like, oh no, you can do it, guys, you can do it. But they just are they're just flaming out. Absolutely. And so it just gets more and more tumultuous as it goes on. And I love it. It's such a ride. It is like the ride at the state fair. It absolutely is.
Well, I felt like Jimmy and Kayla, like their relationship in season 1, I wasn't fully on board. Like I didn't think, you know, like I wasn't that super entertained by it. But in season 2, I just think like every time they're on screen, it was so hilarious. And Megan Stalter, like just so epically ridiculous and perfect for that role.
So great.
And her performance is just so great this season, I think.
I'm so interested in what you said about the line about, you know, you're just, what is it? You're just as unscrupulous and
you're cruel,
selfish
like
and
me.
cruel,
selfish and
like
cruel as like me. Like, do we think that they are selfish and cruel? Because
they've got moments. I mean, I think especially the moment where Deborah says to take the bus back to the garbage cans to get the tennis can filled with Ava's dad's ashes. That was a moment. But what I like about those moments are they just happen. Nobody makes a big deal about it. And then we move on. Yeah. And it's almost as if they're saying, I don't want to be known for these good things. I'd rather be known for my selfishness and cruelty.
For pushing a vintage dresser in front of your tiny bunk bed on the tour bus.
Well, this is like they're often a little bit petty. I do think that they are sometimes selfish and cruel, but I think all of us are sometimes selfish and cruel. And like to like those words, obviously those descriptions have power and stuff, and like especially usually women and like historically oppressed people don't get to be selfish and cruel because we're too busy trying to like placate the patriarchy and white cis men to let us have any space in the world. And so like I think it's actually really powerful for them to agree that this is the overlap not only of like their maybe like sort of flaws, but to then identify those flaws, name those flaws, and turn them into strengths for their comedy. Because like that's what sort of and they do both have kind moments, and they both want things, and they both care about things, and they're both like hurt people who like have experienced trauma, all that stuff. Like they are just very well-rounded people. And like you guys said earlier, we don't get to see that often in the fullest nuances of this. So like, I think about something like Succession, and how I love Succession. But like the selfishness and cruelty of Succession is very different than what we're seeing in this show. Like this group of people, like by the time everyone comes, am I spoiling anything? No, by the time, because we're only talking up to up to episode 5, and we should have said this in the beginning.
We're only jumped in with episode 6. I'll be quiet about
it. Sorry. Okay. But like, until everyone comes back together on the bus, like, and I don't know about how you felt, but like when Marcus finally joins them back on the bus, I like did a little cheer in my heart.
Yeah.
And Deborah is so tender to him when she realizes like he's having a very difficult episode, and she's just like, okay, I'm going to fire weed. Get over here. Meet me, and like, they care about people. And I think that that's where we can make so much space for the selfishness and cruelty if there's also like clear depictions of them caring about people and caring a little bit about each other.
Agreed. Yeah, there has to be something. But I don't, on the whole, though, I don't know if I would exactly say Deborah Vance is like, one of the kindest women you'll ever meet. I don't know if I'd ever say that. And I don't want to say that about her either.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, what does it say about me that I took as much joy as I did from Deborah torturing Ava? But I did. Every moment of, there's your bunk and here's my room and stuff. I was like, yeah, punked. Yeah, absolutely. Don't you know who I am? You know what I mean? Like
I earned this.
I feel personally vindicated every time she did something cruel. I don't know. There was something about, I guess I feel like Deborah is due more respect than she receives. And when Ava messes with what she has built and Deborah says, yes, of course she's hurt and everything, but she also is like, no, I'm going to put you in your place. And I'm going to do it for quite some time because that'll be fun for me. There's something about that I really enjoy. I love when Ava takes Deborah down a little bit and kind of brings her into the world of 2022 a little bit. But I also just love when Deborah shuts her down and it's like, yeah, what do you know? You've been here for 5 minutes.
The sort of ongoing gag about like the lawsuit that like she's suing Ava is amazing. Like the idea that like you're suing this person that works for you, but you still keeping her on the payroll and basically living together on a bus.
Yeah. Delightful.
That's so good.
I like that. Delightful. I like the ongoing gag of the lawsuit component. There are elements where the torture felt like a little, to me, just a little extra. Cause I was just like, I'm so aware of the power dynamics of like Deborah having so much money and like Ava having very little. And also just like very little power. Plus she had like just physically assaulted her when like Ava spilled the beans to like that other person. So there's a few parts of me that, and actually that sort of brings to mind something that we can't discuss, unfortunately, but I will just like foreground it for like maybe like an offline conversation later. There are elements to the last episode that I'm dissatisfied with and that I don't think are true for Ava. So anyways, okay. That said, I still love the entire season.
TB discussed.
Discussed, yeah. But yeah, like I think like there's elements of Ava's journey this season that ring a little false for me.
Oh, interesting. Some people are like, oh, this is absolutely Ava's season. And then other people are like, no, this is absolutely Deborah's season. And I think they're both right. But
yeah, I think they're both right.
When do you think, so when there is the reveal about what Ava has done, where do you think that actually happens? Because I'm convinced that when the plane lands in the first episode and Deborah's phone blows up, that she knows at that point.
Oh, you think she knew?
I think that's why her phone was blowing up. I think she knew. I think she knew and just didn't let on that she knew until Ava finally admitted it and got crystals thrown at her. not thristles. Those are much more. You can't throw those at people.
I do think that Deborah knew. I don't know if it's when the phone blew up, just because I don't think it wasn't like a blind item in Deux Mois or something. Like it was like notes to a TV show. And I don't think Deborah has enough friends in LA to like give her the inside scoop on like what Ava has said, unless Jimmy sent the email, which he could have, because he represents them both and he has to disclose. And Deborah's going to be the client that he prefers in the long run. But he was doing a lot of
could have screwed
interference.
up. Kayla could have screwed up and sent her to her by accident.
Kayla honestly could have read the entire thing and then sent a voicemail. Yeah, no,
absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah,
Kayla could have leaked it all to the trades. You're right. I don't know.
No.
Interesting though. Like I hadn't thought about whether or not I figured she knew by the time she threw the crystals, but man, Deborah's instinct for violence is sometimes a lot, but because those crystals, man, they're jagged. They are.
Yes, we should not
heavy.
Throw crystals at people.
She's strong, though. I got to give her that. And Ava is good at ducking. So great. They found each other. Thrilled about that.
Yeah. I will say that I have not yet forgiven them for Joey the dog. Or Joe the dog. Wait a minute. I just realized that Joe the dog and Mayor Joe are both named Joe. What's up with that? Hold on a
I
second.
ran out of names completely.
Yeah. So fun fact about me, I don't know if we've talked about this before. I can't watch shows with animals in them. I can watch like people get beaten to death on TV, not in real life. I would step in, to be clear. But I can watch any kind of violence involving humans, but anything that might go wrong with animals, I can't. It just gives me panic attacks and I can't handle it. So
Did we discuss? You know that website then?
I feel like we did. I think we might have discussed this last time.
Discussed. Does the dog die?
Does the dog die? Yeah. Very familiar with that website, and I should have checked it before, but I did. I just dove in because it's hacks. It's.
But Joe didn't die.
No, he didn't die. But that Joe was at risk. I honestly, I feel sick just thinking about it. I do not like.
Well, not as sick
when
as Joe
writers.
But.
Well, I know, poor little feller. Yeah. I don't like when writers use animals as like. I get it. He had to hit bottom. We had to see that his life was completely out of control. I get it. Find a different way. Don't use animals. I can't.
I appreciated the vet being like, "No, sir, you can't have this. You can't have this dog back."
Yeah,
like it was lucky he wasn't charged. That's what I have to say.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's true.
And then the lowest. And when you say hit low, hit bottom, I don't know if it was the dog barfing or it was I'll get my mother to pick him up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like as a person who has a dog, it's like that kind of thing. Even though I knew it was just a TV show, my heart was in my throat. You're like, that's
as soon as I saw Joe come into the whole situation, I knew it wasn't going to be good. As soon as I saw him bring him home.
Anytime an animal appears in a TV show or a film, I'm like, I'm out. I'm
looking up. Does the dog die? I got to know.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was too late for me on that. So I still haven't forgiven them for that. And I don't care for that business. But otherwise, I still love you guys.
Do you like a slightly different? Lisa and I have both named ourselves Weed after a really wonderful guest turn. Who, I mean, honestly, I don't know that she gets as much screen time as Joe, the dog, actually. But Laurie Metcalf joins us. I would love a spin-off series on Weed. I don't need like it to follow Pete Doherty at all, or not Pete Doherty, Pete Wentz. I don't need that necessarily, but I would just love to follow Weed as she tour manages
and sits up. I just love that conspiracy theory.
Real drill sergeants.
Sleeping on your back is gonna kill you. Oh my gosh! I never
everything about her.
Hard.
So funny.
So hard. Yeah.
I appreciate that the logistics of it might be complicated, but I think Laurie Metcalf should be in everything from now on.
Oh, I would think
everything.
Yeah.
She's so funny. She's such a talented actor.
As soon as she shows up, you feel so much better. You're like, oh, this is gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
This is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Well, and so ridiculous, right? But if you've ever worked with a stage manager, worked with a tour manager, met people who work on, tours, yeah, that's exactly accurate. I completely know that character. Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like I also am a little bit familiar with this type of person, and just the perfection is in the details there, and of course they would toss away a obvious can of ashes in a like that. I mean, we knew where that was gonna go, but I in no way am I surprised that was her doing and her fault.
Of course. Yeah.
I really like the fact that because the show does pick up so quickly after there's no time in between seasons really. We're picking up the characters right where we left them off. Ava's had this major instance of grief in her life, and that is a thing that has bonded her and Deborah Vance together. I'm glad that we don't let go of that, and that it continues to find ways to sort of show up throughout season 2.
I do also have a soft spot for Mark Indelicato as Damien, the personal assistant.
Yes.
As a producer of hosts, many moments where he's setting up that product placement, her shoot outside the tour bus in some random parking lot, and he has to source all this perfume from the nearest Lord and Taylor.
So funny.
Yeah.
I love the idea that she's set for life with that perfume, though. I just find that to be so satisfying. I would love to be able to do that. I have a favorite
Very
perfume.
smart, yeah.
It's by Diptyque. We don't get paid by them, but but if Diptyque wants to get a hold of us, I encourage them.
There.
But they only have 6 fragrances or something, or 6 or 7. So I have no fear of it being discontinued. But I still love the idea of hoarding it and just having boxes and boxes of it, and opening a cupboard and seeing them all. And
honestly, I love the entire cruise episode. It was so fun. And
yeah,
we watched
really
this also
funny.
with my grandma. We had watched season 1 with my grandma, and she really liked it. And then we watched season 2. And when we got to the end, she was like, that really grew better and better with each episode, didn't it? I was like, yeah, that's the goal, Graham. I gotta say.
Absolutely.
You understand
Nailed it.
the thing of TV writing.
Yep.
Can you imagine being marched off a cruise boat and jeered as your boat
Dinghies.
your dinghy sails back to shore?
I loved it. I love that idea of that is officially you are officially canceled from this boat. We are going to send you off on a dinghy, the most undignified way to be ejected from a community.
And the most lesbian way. They had a meeting, they had a quorum,
They had a vote.
and decided
I love that too.
you were.
I love the quorum.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love the quorum. I also really like that we get to have Ava's getting to have a variety of sexual experiences periodically throughout the season, and it's not sort of as narrow, just not as narrow as it was last season, and I really appreciate that.
Where the men commit suicide after they have sex with her?
Well, I
Pretty
mean,
specific, yeah.
that was pretty specific. I'm glad
if you
she
get
got
a
to-
lot of those, if that's
I'm
your
glad
kink,
she got to
then
make
there's a
out-
real
That's
problem.
my type. What can I tell you? That's my type.
I'm really
Dear.
glad she got to make out with 2 hot women. That's great. Good for her.
Okay, that
Yeah.
scene, and then when Deborah comes along, he's like, "Come on, we're going."
Yeah, I know.
And she
I felt for
asks-
her. Oh my
Oh,
god,
that was painful, wasn't it?
It was painful.
She was like a kid
yeah.
at a birthday party whose parent comes along and is like, "No,
Oh
get your
my
coat, we're
God.
leaving." And she's like,
Yeah.
"But we haven't had cake yet." She was so just
And she had just
petulant.
yeah.
She had just taken drugs too.
I know. And then the Molly hits on the boat, on the dinghy. Oh my God. It was
And that's the
so
beauty of
funny.
watching something more than once, is that was so funny. But the second time I watched it, watching Deborah watching Ava as the Molly kicks in, beautiful, just beautiful.
I also appreciate the detail that Deborah actually takes the feedback about the leggings on board
Yes.
and continues to talk about the leggings and take ownership of her leggings.
Yes, the waistband
in
is rather
different
stretchy.
episodes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's Deborah,
Yeah.
right? Like she, you
Yeah.
know, she acts like she doesn't listen to anybody, but she does. She hears everything and she takes in everything. She makes the changes to her set, and you know, she even says at one point, like, "Yeah, you had the answer months ago." You know, she takes in what Ava says. Sometimes she tells her to shut up, but she still hears it and takes it in and makes those changes because she's an actual evolving human character, right? None of us are, I mean, we all love, you were talking about Succession earlier, Andrea, and I, you know, we all love watching people be awful. Rich
Yeah.
white people being awful, can't get enough. Well, I don't know, but
Some people can get enough. That's fair.
yeah, I had enough. But, you know, the realism of these characters, that they are, you know, yes, they're hilarious and funny and awful and all that, but they really are true humans who one day they're doing this and the next day they're trying a different way. We're all just trying to figure it out. We're all just trying to make it work, and hopefully we're actually listening to each other and making adjustments. But you know, to get to see characters actively working through that is just so lovely, and things that, like I said, I relate strongly to. I've had those conversations. I had a conversation with somebody I used to do comedy with who walked away from it, and it's funny because I didn't, until I saw that episode with the Susan character, I thought of that situation in a completely different way, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to this friend I was like, yeah, but you miss it, right? Like, you miss it. And she was like, I don't. Like, I had a good time, but I'm done. And I was like, yeah, but you're kidding yourself, right? Like, there's something missing inside your soul, right? Like, and she was like, no. There's not. And until I watched that episode, I was like, oh, I was the jerk in that situation. She is fine. I'm the one with the giant hole in my soul that I'm trying to fill with comedy. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's relatable, but it's also, you just get to see each and every side of not a debate, but you know, the problems that they have. From each of the different characters, like you said, are an access point to look at the situation a little bit differently. And that's a really beautiful thing.
I agree. And I do think, like, the other thing that you pointed out before about just like watching them work on jokes, watching them work on, you know, their own small ways themselves, watching them work on their relationships with other people. I love shows that take pleasure in showing us the work, because I really personally, maybe like, and I think a lot of people feel this way, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I really like working on myself. I like asking myself why I like certain things, and you know, what my privileges are, and what my, like, you know, where I'm coming from, and like why I haven't considered it this way before, or like how I haven't seen something before, or whatever. And like, and I do feel like this show takes similar pleasures to show us how the work can be hard but worth it.
Yeah.
And funny.
Very
Even
funny.
a little
Very
funny.
And yeah, it can make us actually better, happier people, right? Yeah.
So I think I know how this will be answered, but around the room, does season 2 of Hacks pop?
Several pops. Big pops. Pop, pop,
Yes.
pop.
Pop, pop, poppity pop, pop, poppity poppity pop, 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 pop.
What Morgan said.
Morgan said.
Yeah, like a bowl of popcorn, and you just hear it
Yes.
starting up in the microwave. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
I mean, can season 3 possibly be better?
Well, there was a
than
lot of
this
people who
season?
said, should there even be a season 3? Because season 2 ends, you know, in kind of a very satisfactory way.
Yeah.
But I now, based on like how I feel about like a little bit like what we talked about before, is just, you know, that maybe like there's some stuff in Ava's storyline that I think I personally felt was like a little bit off. Like maybe season 3 can like be a place where we just continue to see them grow in these different ways. And that is, I'm never going to say no to that. We love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. Morgan, would you like to go first?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I can't remember the parameters, and when I explain, you will be like, that checks out. So this I think this is allowed. It's a book, which is also an audio book.
We're allowed to read. Yep.
Oh,
Yep,
good.
listen.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Excellent. So this book is called How to Keep House While Drowning. And it's by a woman named Casey Davis. And it's a gentle approach. What does it say? I don't have my glasses on. A gentle approach to cleaning and organizing. That sounds fun, doesn't it? Okay. So here's the thing. I have always been a messy person. I was a messy kid. I am a messy adult. I am married to a very tidy person. We are continually on the verge of divorce over my lack of interest in housework. And couple that with, I know that a lot of people have been diagnosed with adult ADHD as of late, and it feels like a bit of a bandwagon, but holy, I felt like she was talking to me in this book. So she wrote it after the pandemic, and she had 2 small children, and then the pandemic and everything, and she has ADHD, and so it's for anyone, but it's specifically aimed at people who are neurodivergent in some way and therefore have issues with executive function and things like keeping things organized, keeping things tidy, doing housework, self-care. And she talks about, instead of calling them chores, she calls them care. I'm forgetting the terminology, but it's basically, rather than being about cleaning, it's about resetting your world to functionality. And that really spoke to me in a way that I hadn't, because I am a petulant child when it comes to cleaning anything. I'm just like, you can't make me. And so anytime somebody is like, hey, I really need you to help around the house more, I'm like, yeah, get off my back, old man. Like, I'm just a brat, right? And so she has this way of reframing everything that is about being kind to yourself and the people that you care about, and taking the morality out of cleanliness and tidiness, that it is not a moral thing to be tidy. And all of this, like, I can't even, I'm fumbling with how to describe it because I'm in the middle of listening to it and it's blowing my mind. But if you struggle at all with I feel like 2 of the people on this meeting, this may relate to, and 2 of you, you're just fine on your own. But for other people that you might have in your life that are driving you crazy with their mess, you might want to give them this book. But I feel like I might be able to be a person who takes care of myself and my world a little bit better through this gentle approach to self-care and care for those around me.
That's awesome.
So
That's
I
great.
highly recommend it.
Wow.
Gee, I don't think we've ever had quite a recommendation ever like that.
I have a lot of ADHD
Spectacular.
folks who've only been diagnosed in the last, because it was so underdiagnosed in women.
Yeah.
Of course. I have lots of folks in my life who have been so grateful to receive a diagnosis in the last 5 years or so. And the idea that this person wrote this book during an ongoing pandemic, incredible.
Yeah.
Lisa, what about you?
Yeah, so I was informed that I might be cheating on this, but I do not think I am. So Stranger Things season 4, you got 7 episodes and then it stopped. And I was rather alarmed, but I found out it was because on July 1st, there were 2 more added. So I feel like it's a footnote. And so therefore I can claim it because I watched the final 2 episodes and they were epic. And for once, I'm not going to complain that something was too long, even though it was 150 minutes.
Wow.
We'll take it.
Yeah. So season 4, second half. Season 4, 2.0.
Are you both episodes, or are you saving one for next week?
No. I finished them both.
Shots
I'm not gonna.
fired.
Yeah, no kidding.
She called you
Wow.
out on that, Lisa. She called
sure
you
did.
out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is from the woman who recommended a food truck last week. So come on now. It's fine.
Yeah, at least I've been consuming some media. I will have
thank
moved
you.
on by next week.
Thank you for this. AG, what about you?
So I started watching this TV show that's based on a book that Lisa recommended a while ago called This Is Going to Hurt. They've made it into a TV series, BBC and AMC, and it stars Ben Whishaw as Adam and Ambika Mata as Shruti, the two main characters of the show. And it's about these young doctors working in the National Health System in England, and they're working in obstetrics and gynecology, and just like this exhausting grind of starting off as a doctor. And the show is, it's like, I mean, we're used to seeing kind of like American based hospital shows, which have like kind of always, now I realize, have a sheen on them.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, but this is just like a very realistic, very like, it's funny in some places, but it's also deeply, deeply dark in some places. But yeah, it's an excellent series, and I highly recommend watching it.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to recommend a book. It is written by a friend of mine and possibly a friend of yours, Elamine Abdelmahmoud, Son of Elsewhere, a memoir in pieces. And it's so good. Elamine, I'm listening to the audiobook. And it's so nice to have him reading to me, which is lovely because I love his voice. He's so great. But his writing is, honestly, it's just gorgeous, and it's really personal, and it's, weaving together his background and his journey from Sudan to Canada, and just, I don't know, like there's just so much about his story and the sort of cultural stories that he's telling in this book that I really am quite unfamiliar with. And so it's been really eye-opening and educational and informative and just like wonderful. Like it's doing everything that you want a great memoir to do, which is bring you deeply into the life of its subjects. And it's perfect.
Nice.
Wow. Lots for everybody.
I look
here.
forward to
Yeah.
that one.
I love
Yeah.
coming on the show because then I'm like, ooh, I'm going to watch that. Ooh, I'm going to read that. I never do, but I feel excited about it at the time.
But you've got a good list to ignore, and that's what's
It's a
important.
good feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
I feel excited. Yeah.
Morgan, thank you so much for hanging out with us again. We had such a nice
Yeah,
time
thank
with
you.
you.
Thank you so much for having me. I
We-
love coming to talk to you.
Oh, it's so great to have you with us. Do you want people to come find you online anywhere?
Nah,
Okay.
I'm not doing. I am legit not doing anything right now. I mean, I'm doing things, but not anything that other people can see, and I'm fine with that.
Perfect.
Sometimes
That's
it's
great.
okay to rest.
It's so important. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Good
So
for you.
important.
If this pandemic has taught me anything, it's that. Sometimes I don't have to be producing something in order to be a valid human being.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Yep. But we do want our listeners to produce 5-star reviews for. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
Sure, why not?
Bring those stars on.
You can rate and review us. You could hang out with us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Any of those things would be great.
And thank you all for listening. Thank you to Andrea Gin, our co-host and producer. And thanks for hanging in with us for, many, many episodes. Many.
So many.
So many.
I don't want to freak you guys out, but this fall, gonna be like 7 years.
Yeah, I know.
That's
That
amazing.
is
Congratulations.
amazing.
Thanks.
That is
Thank
really,
you.
truly awesome.
And
Like,
I
that's
love
rare.
them like I just met them.
And yet we've also so grown together. We've evolved. We've done some of that work
Yeah.
in public for people listening to the show.
We
For the
have.
record,
Wow.
For the record. So
Jeez.
it's good stuff. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
Amazing.
Anyway, we'll celebrate in the fall.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Okay. Thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.